My name is Jo Clark. I'm Deputy Head of Jebel Primary School. I'm joined today by Natasha Spencer, who is one of our Year 6 teachers, and since September 2012, Natasha has also been our English leader for Years 3 to 6. If you don't know about Jebel we're a primary-only school. We teach English curriculum from Foundation 2 up to Year 6. We've been working on a journey for the past 3-4 years, making cross-curricular links. Over those 3-4 years, what we started with has continually evolved each year to the point where we're at just now, but we've not finished yet. It's something that we keep under review and that our teachers keep working on. The theme of today's presentation that Natasha will take you through is, as we said, cross-curricular links with literacy. A lot of work has been done on this, and for us the main point of it is, and Natasha will talk a lot about this, is making meaningful context for the children to be learning literacy objectives. And as I say, Natasha will say a lot more about that. The programme that we've embarked upon developing these links is actually stood us in very good stead with all of our friends, the DSIB inspectors. It actually touches on 2 of their quality indicators. One being the quality of learning, makes reference to cross-curricular links, and obviously the other one is the quality of the curriculum. So I will pass you over to Natasha, who has got the presentation ready for today.
Okay, well, first I'd like to say thank you for coming along today, and it's a real pleasure to be able to speak amongst colleagues. I see my role at Jebel School as an important role, but a role that I'm highly supported amongst the other teachers in the school and through our senior leadership team also. And I think that's vitally important to how successful we are at managing literacy skills across the curriculum. For us, we try to incorporate science, geography, art, DT, history in amongst our English skills, so that the children, like Joan said, the children are making relevant and contextualised their work, so that it becomes more meaningful for them. However, on occasions it can happen that literacy becomes a subject taught separately and discreetly, separate to the foundation subjects. And this is something at Jebel that we've been tackling for some time, and I think that now we are getting towards a stage in our development that we are happy with. So how do we at Jebel ensure that these links across the foundation subjects and the core skills in English, how do we make sure that those skills are transferable and meaningful? We believe that it's important to make these links implicit and to make sure these links aren't tenuous in any way. It could be easily said that any sort of form of writing in a science lesson or in a history lesson, any sort of write-up or a report is therefore cross-curricular, but we don't believe this to be the case. At Jebel, what we think is important is making sure that the objectives that are being taught at the time for the children are cross-curricular linked. So for example, if the children are learning something in literacy at that time, be it that week, be it that fortnight, be it that unit of work, those particular objectives are then looked at in other areas of the curriculum. And hopefully that will become more apparent when I show you some of the examples that I'm going to go through with you today. So for example, if they're looking at science experiment, whether that's something to do with forces, and they're looking at a literacy unit to do with report writing, it's looking specifically at those objectives relating to science and looking specifically at those objectives relating to literacy report writing, and intertwining those objectives so that they're taught in a succinct and contextualised fashion, so that the children then can remember those objectives and know that it's important to cross-reference their skills that they've previously learned. So that's how we do it, and I suppose one of the key questions is, well, why is that so important? You can see that there are 3 main points that I put here. Firstly, to learn through a variety of different activities. So the children are using kinesthetic approaches, they're using interactive activities to develop their skills. And essentially, I suppose it becomes more memorable because it's more enjoyable. Hands-on activities that children tend to remember more. If they're remembering those skills more, that leads to greater progression. And it also enables the children to practice these skills in different environments, in different situations. Enables them to think and learn more creatively, so that they're not rigid in their learning, and once again, these skills are transferable. Essentially, and probably the most important, is that the skills that the children learn in their English lessons, their set English lessons, if you like reading, writing, and speaking and listening skills. It's important that these skills aren't just learned rote. Many children find it easier to learn rote, perhaps. So, for example, knowing certain grammar rules or knowing certain spellings. But there's absolutely no point in them knowing those grammar rules or knowing those spellings if when they come to use them in other areas of the curriculum, they're unable to transfer those skills. So by giving them the opportunity to transfer those skills in different situations, in different contexts, it enables them to be able to use them more freely. Essentially also, some children, and as was pointed out earlier, sometimes boys in particular, deem themselves to be not good writers or unconfident writers, and would perhaps consider themselves as being not good at literacy or not good in their writing skills. However, they might consider themselves to be a good historian or a good scientist. And it's about encompassing those children to use the skills that they've learnt in English in a situation they feel more confident in. So if they're a confident scientist, but yet, without really realising it, they're using their English skills, then it makes it more accessible for them. Basically, the context of this presentation, I'm not going to do much more talking, I'm going to let the children explain to you, and it will follow the same format throughout. I'm going to go through a Year 3 example. This is something that the Year 3s at Jebel are doing at the moment. So their geography topic is weather. That's the unit of work that they're studying at the moment, and it will go for the whole term. Essentially, the main focus is the geography element. However, in literacy, they are looking at report writing. So they've got a 2 to 3 week unit of work on report writing. It's about intertwining those objectives from the geography unit and the literacy unit and making it contextualised for the children. Just so you know, there's a few little jargons that we use at Jebel and that the children are very familiar with, and they use quite confidently, as will be seen. We refer to the phrase of learning intentions. Some of you will probably be aware of that and use it yourself. It's just the objectives for the lesson. The children sometimes shorten that as well to allies. So when you hear the children referring to allies, that's the learning intentions, which are the objectives set by the teacher. Just while you're watching the video of Phoebe and Will, if you just sort of try to think what geography objectives might be taking place during that lesson or that unit of work, and what literacy objectives the teacher had planned for that unit of work. And I'd just like to point out that this wasn't a one lesson, this was over a period of time that these children are talking about.
We're learning about weather. We're learning about extreme weather all around the world, of how it can destroy people's lives. In our English lessons, we were doing reports about the weather and we were doing a story on our own about cyclones and hurricanes and tsunamis. We were learning about extreme weather, and I watched my sister. She was speaking a little bit too fast. We were judging the people that were good and not so good, that needed to improve. We were doing also with the Sky News, and some of them were still too fast. In our English lessons, we also were writing reports and we made up our own stories on what happened, like some cyclones, tsunamis, tornadoes, and hurricanes. The reports we had to do was first do it in our draft books, then copy it out into our English books. When we copied it into our writing books, we added some more facts and little extra bits on the bit of weather and our tsunamis tornadoes, hurricanes, and cyclones. We had to include in our writing a headline and one picture. And we also had to include a little bit of the main story and who it was by. We had to include facts in our story, and then we put it into our writing books, which we then drew a little picture and a small headline of what it was about. We also used some weather words like distraction and terrifying and destroy. We used an iPad to video our broadcasts and make sure we spoke fluently, clearly, not too quietly and loud.
Okay, so hopefully from that you can get the idea that the children have enjoyed what they've been learning about, and they're enthusiastic and confident to be able to speak about it. They were talking about lots of different literacy and geography aspects of the curriculum with regards to report writing and the weather. Touching on what the key speaker said this morning, and for those of you that were there, it's about making the lessons fun. And I think, I hope what come across in that is that the children have enjoyed what they've done. Therefore, if they're enjoying it, it makes it more memorable. Once again, if it makes it more memorable, then they're going to be able to transfer those skills far more easily, and therefore should lead to greater progress. With the person sat next to you, if you could just jot, between you, just jot down one literacy objective that you think was on the planning from the teachers, and one geography objective. So just one literacy and one geography between the two of you, and then if you can come and stick it on the white flip chart sheet that says geography or literacy for me. Literacy, and what learning intentions do you think you were looking at with regards to geography? So you can see, were there any of your objectives came up?
I think one of the learning intentions was to write, can I write a report? And my partner record me on the iPad and see if I spoke clearly. And another Eli is when we were watching some other people on with their reports,
With regards to this particular unit, once again you can see the children were asked what bits did they enjoy, and they were quite happy to tell me what parts they enjoyed, and once again that's essentially what we're trying to get from the children, an element of fun so that they enjoy it and they want to do those sorts of things again. With regards to year 4, it's very similar, but this time it's a science topic. Their science topic is moving and growing, and their literacy of their work with literacy is once again report writing. But this time report writing in a different way. So you can see how from year 3 to year 4, okay, it's the same sort of strand of literacy if you like, but it's done in a slightly different way, and it's used in a different context. So once again, I'll let Hugo and Ellen tell you all about it.
In our topic, we have been learning about moving and growing. We have been learning all the muscles in the body and the bones. Did you know the biggest muscle in your body is the gluteus maximus? One of the experiments that we have done is to see if we can bend a chicken. Well, we had to get a chicken bone and then 2 jars. One full of vinegar, one full of water, and then we dropped them. And we kept them there for a few days, and then we took them out. We put them on a paper towel and then tried to see if we could bend the vinegar. It was bendy, but we couldn't tie it in. The really bendy bones were the ones that were used with the most acidic vinegar. But the water didn't affect the bone because it hadn't drained all of the minerals and calcium. And we had to do a report about what happened to the bones and why it happened. We had to write the report in paragraphs and include certain verbs and connectives. And we had to use special scientific words like calcium, acid, minerals and bones.
Okay, so once again, the children are confident to tell you, well, at the time they were telling me all about their lesson, and they, again, I hope it comes across that they enjoyed their lesson and they liked to do it. The unit of work, again, wasn't just one lesson, it was over several lessons, and it also included their homework as well. So, once again, on our post-it note, can you write down for me a literacy and, between two of you, literacy and a science objective that you think was the idea that they should have been learning in that session? The two children will tell you about it. Like year 3-1, they say it in Child Speak, but at the bottom I've taken the objectives for the teacher's planning. So it's in Child Speak and the teacher's speak.
I think our learning intention was, can we set up an experiment about rubber bones and to learn and to find out what happens to the bones when the minerals are taken out. And then we had to do a report about what happened to the bones and why it happened. We had literacy learning intentions, like can I write a report in paragraphs, and using verbs like placed and put and time connected. Also looking at why it is important to eat food with calcium in it. Otherwise we'll go as fluffy and pig like this. Yes, I enjoyed doing it because I like to see the bones bend and snap. Good for you.
Okay, there is some work on display. If we've got time at the end, please have a little look, and you can see the literacy objectives, the verbs, and the time connectors that the children talk about being used throughout the paragraphs, the layout, the organisational features, as well as the scientific elements like technical vocabulary and so on. You can also tell that the children are fully aware of what the literacy objectives are, what the geography objectives are. So even though they're discrete in that way, because they're taught over a series of lessons that are combined, they become cross-curricular. And even though the children are aware of them, they're also aware that they're learning them together, so they're being dovetailed really to one unit of work. Here's some examples of just some of the work that the children did. The actual report itself, they did at home. So that was part of their homework to write up the report. But all of the input was done through literacy lessons and the science lessons. Okay, year 5 is much the same way, but this time it's history and literacy. The unit of work that year 5 was studying its last term was Tudor Britain. And the literacy unit of work was all about the writings of William Shakespeare, which, as you can probably appreciate, for year 5 is quite a hard concept, and with the language features that are being used and the fact that it's Old English, sometimes that could be deemed as being quite hard for children of year 5 age to appreciate and understand. But you'll see that because it's been done in a fun, creative and a collaborative fashion, that the children have enjoyed it, not only enjoyed it, learned a lot from it as well.
In our topic lessons, we were doing King Henry VIII, and we had to learn about him and his family tree. But we also had to write a book, which was about the Tudors and all about King Henry VIII. It was for homework, and we could do it at school. And every page was something different about Henry. All the Tudors. We had to produce a comic strip about the 12th night. We had to do an additional or alternative scene. We had to learn the history about William Shakespeare before we started. We learned about William Shakespeare because we were learning about the Tudors in our topic lesson, and William Shakespeare was around in the Tudor times. We started reading the 12th Night before we wrote the comic strip. After that, we had to collaborate with a partner and do some notes in a draft book. After that, we had to start drawing the pictures. Then we had to do speech bubbles, which were in Shakespearean language. And at the bottom of the picture, there was a space where you could write in modern English to translate what they were saying in the picture. After we had finished the comic strips, we had to go around and evaluate each other's work. Also did it for the books that we wrote about the Tudors.
And just so you know, there's 4 classes in Year 5. Each took a different Shakespearean story. So there was Midsummer's Night's Dream, Richard III, Taming of the Shrew, and Twelfth Night. And afterwards they swapped over with another class and read their comic strip, so that they got to learn more about William Shakespeare and the types of stories. Once again, if you could jot down a history or one history and one literacy objective this time, and then probably pop it on sheet over here. Thank you.
The story of the 12th Night by William Shakespeare. To learn about the Old English times, and another one would be to work with a partner to produce additional or alternative scenes. We had to write in the same way as William Shakespeare, and to practice our evaluating skills. Our learning intentions for our history were learning about Tudor, to learn about the history of famous Tudor people like William Shakespeare and King Henry VIII. Really enjoyed my English and topic lessons, but my favourite things would have to be writing the Tudor book and creating the comic strip with a partner.
Okay, and once again there's some examples over there. Graphs, and here's some examples here. And like India said earlier, after they had completed their comic strips, they then went round and evaluated. And here's some pictures of the children evaluated, and they literally put post-it notes and put them on the back so that the children they could refer to them when they got them back after they had been evaluated. Okay, with Year 6 it's another history. I'm not going to say too much about it to start with. I'm just going to let Hannah and Ross tell you all about it.
In topic we've been doing crime and punishments. Under crime and punishments we've been looking at capital punishment and different examples. Earlier on we learned that the punishments were a bit more gruesome than now. Now we try to make them as painless as possible.
In literacy, we've been learning about journalistic writing, where we've had to include like headlines, puns, captions and newspaper articles. During literacy we've had to look and evaluate puns, and then we've had to develop some of our own.
We looked at the writing structure and how in the first paragraph you should have all the important information like the 5 W's, and then at the bottom of the paragraph you have the less interesting and less important information.
The 5 W's are who, what, when, where, why.
We also looked at direct and indirect speech.
During one of our topic lessons, we had to put our classroom into a newsroom, and then we put into groups of 3.
In the groups of 3, there was a sub-editor, a photographer, and a reporter. The reporter would have to listen out for the ticker tape sound to go and collect information from the computer.
When the reporter gathered the information, they had to feed it back to the rest of the group, where the sub-editor would have to choose what they were going to put in the news article.
Points were awarded for the decisions that were being made, and they were being awarded by the editor. The editor was our class teacher. We had to produce a finished piece of work by the deadline.
In the report, we had to include all the information that was gathered by the reporter. We had to include captions, pictures that the photographer got from the internet. We had to decide our title, which could have been a pun or any of the things we did in our topic.
Finally, the editor would decide on the quality of our newspaper reports, and we would be given a maximum of 8 points and minimum of 0.
At the end of the lesson, we discovered that this was a true crime, a train robbery that happened in 1963.
Okay, just because of our technical glitch, I know we're running a little short on time, so we won't do the lesson intentions, etc. But basically, I think you can kind of see now how the interlinking of the history, science, geography objectives are vital in creating that cross-curricular link with the literacy objectives also. I'm just going to play you this video. This video is a small snippet, lasts about a minute long, of the lesson that took place. Basically, they were in mixed ability groups. There was a sub-editor, a reporter, and a photographer. The sub-editor was the higher ability child, the middle ability child was the reporter, and the lower ability child was the photographer. So it was differentiated as well. And it was all set on a timer. I'm actually teaching in this lesson, but I don't really need to do any of the teaching. All the input's been done. This is a topic lesson, but they're using their literacy skills quite obviously in this lesson. They had a set amount of time in which to write and produce a plan for their final newspaper report, and that had to be handed in by the deadline. I think this kind of epitomises really what we at Jebel believe is important. It enables the children to be more creative and critical thinkers. It sort of highlights inquiry-based learning, so the children are really working hard together to try and make the best decisions possible for their group. Also, it kind of makes them work under pressure. So they're working in a real life situation, or as best as we can get in the classroom. But they're working under pressure, and they understand what it means to be successful. But we're giving them the opportunities to be successful and to succeed, so that they can see and reap the benefits from that. As that sound goes off, the children know that the reporters that they must go to the computer, and the information is then received in. That's all set up on a timer. I'm just using PowerPoint. The children have so long to get that information down, and then it will disappear. And they then have to take that back to their group, and their group then has to make a decision based on the information that they've received. And from that, from all the decisions they make, they then have to decide what's going to go in their news report. Some things they will decide to leave out, and some things they will decide to put in and elaborate on. And it's up to them, and they get points awarded by the editor, which was me in this case, and then they can see what decisions they've made that are good and what decisions that are made that perhaps they need to think about more carefully next time. News report plan that the children are then putting the information onto. And then a separate lesson followed this, where the children then edited and improved their work in order to produce the final news report. Here are some photographs of some of the other Year 6 classes also doing the same. And again, some finished pieces of work. So the photographer's job was to use the internet to download some photographs and print them off ready for their report. Okay, so just to summarise, hopefully those 4 examples have sort of emphasised and shown how we at Jebel Ali believe that it's important and it enriches the children's curriculum when cross-linking and cross-references the objectives in each of the foundation subjects and the core subjects as well. And again, just to summarise, to make sure that it's creative and interactive, again linked to the fun element of the children's learning, kinesthetic learning styles which make the lessons more memorable and hopefully lead to greater success. To transfer learned literacy skills to other areas of the curriculum, again leading to greater progress made. And then the last 2 points are just literally what I've been sort of harping on about for the whole session, is dovetailing those 2 objectives to make sure that they interlink in a relevant and important way for the children so that they can transfer those skills across. Okay, thank you.